Freedom was supposed to set us free. Instead, it became our greatest test. Welcome to another scene from the book, The History of Economics in 25 Scenes. Today I'll tell you about recapitulation, the drama of freedom, a moment to step back and see what this long journey has really been about. Across 2 centuries, economics quietly transformed. It began as the study of wealth, prices, trade, production, and ended as a study of civilization itself. What once measured value came to measure limits of reason, limits of control, limits of freedom. From Marx's moral rebellion through Keynes's guarded intervention to Hayek's warning, Friedman's rules, Minsky's anxiety, and Rothbard's faith in radical liberty, every thinker faced the same riddle. Can humanity truly master the world it has built? No answer ever held. Every system designed to bring order revealed new contradictions. Every expansion of freedom created new forms of dependence. Planning promised safety and produced rigidity. Markets promised harmony and produced crisis. Economics became less a science of solutions and more a mirror of the human condition, rational yet impulsive, creative yet self-destructive. What survives is not certainty, but awareness, the recognition that every economic order reflects the character of its makers, that systems do not fail by accident and they do not succeed by magic. The story of economics does not end in equilibrium or collapse. It returns to where it began, in the drama of freedom, rehearsed endlessly, never resolved. Modern economics begins with a quiet act of translation. Value stops being a moral question and becomes a mathematical one. For centuries, value meant worth, what a thing should cost, what labor deserved. Marx gives this idea its final moral weight. To him, value is born from labor, from the worker's effort hardened into goods. Profit taken beyond that effort is not reward, but theft dressed up as progress. The factory becomes a stage for injustice, and economics becomes a language of power. Then the marginalists arrive, and they turn the idea inside out. Value no longer comes from production, but from perception. What matters is not how much work went into something, but how much satisfaction it gives to someone, here and now. Desire replaces effort. Utility replaces labor. Woolraz and Jevons give this shift its new grammar. They dress preference in equations. Desire becomes a measurable force. In their world, harmony replaces morality. Balance of supply and demand stands where justice once stood. If the system is coherent, it is considered right. Each definition of value carries a hidden image of the human being. Marx's world is collective and tragic. Solidarity against alienation. The marginalists imagine an individual and serene figure, choosing freely among options. Woolraz goes further. His human is not moral at all, but mechanical, calculating equilibrium like a small, obedient god. And so economics changes its role. It no longer describes society, it describes how society sees itself. Behind every formula of value lies a confession of whether we believe we are creatures of work, of desire, or of reason. And perhaps the unease comes from this. We are never quite sure which one we truly are. The collapse of the 1930s shatters the belief that markets can always heal themselves. The invisible hand trembles and millions pay the price. Into this silence steps John Maynard Keynes, part doctor, part architect. He believes capitalism can be saved by its own institutions. When panic stops the heart, the state must restore the rhythm. Public works, managed demand, and shared confidence can bring the system back to life. Across the channel, Friedrich Hayek watches with unease. To him, every plan to impose order risks choking the very spontaneity that keeps societies alive. Knowledge, he insists, is scattered, local and intimate. No central mind can ever gather it all. The planner's map will always miss the terrain of human choice. Their disagreement becomes the century's defining dialogue: design versus emergence, reason versus evolution. Both want to protect civilization from chaos, yet each fears the other's remedy. What follows is not a victory, but a truce. Welfare states rise. Markets are later released. Policy swings back and forth, searching for balance. In this tension, modern governance finds its tragic task: to guide without commanding, to design freedom without extinguishing it. The 20th century never solves this paradox. It simply learns to live inside it. The decades after 1945 feel like redemption. Growth returns, jobs reappear. Governments announce they have finally mastered the cycle. But prosperity, like victory, breeds complacency, and two thinkers step in to issue a warning. Order and chaos are not enemies, they are twins. Milton Friedman places his trust in rules. Economies, he argues, do not fail because of greed, but because money is mismanaged. If the supply of currency grows at a steady, predictable pace, the market's internal logic can do its work. Stability and freedom follow. Discipline, not discretion, is the cure. Liberty protected by mathematics. Minsky looks at the same world and sees something darker. Calm encourages risk. The safer the environment feels, the bolder behavior becomes. Stability, he warns, is destabilizing. It invites leverage, speculation, and the belief that danger has vanished. Every boom quietly constructs the conditions of its own collapse. Their views collide, but also complete one another. Friedman's confidence in reason meets Minsky's realism about fear. Together they sketch the anatomy of modern capitalism, a system powered by confidence, undone by euphoria, and restored only through loss. The late 20th century inherits this uneasy wisdom. Its economies become rule-bound yet anxious, innovative yet haunted, rational in design, unstable in nature, and always uneasy about their own success. Murray Rothbard starts where Hayek stops. If knowledge is too dispersed for any authority to control it, he asks, why should the state exist at all? What begins as skepticism hardens into heresy, a demand to abolish coercion itself. In Rothbard's vision, the market is not just a tool of exchange, it is a moral cosmos. Every trade is voluntary. Every contract is a small act of trust. Order does not come from law, but from consent. Freedom is not efficient or useful, it is sacred. He calls this world anarcho-capitalism, a society so confident in human virtue that it no longer needs rulers. No taxes, no decrees, no imposed authority. The individual, guided by conscience and reason, navigates life alone. Freedom for Rothbard is indivisible. Once compromised, it is no longer freedom at all. Yet the vision trembles under its own purity. A society without authority depends entirely on morality, and morality is fragile, uneven, often irrational. The purer the liberty, the more it relies on virtues it cannot enforce. Rothbard exposes both the brilliance and the danger of modern individualism. Freedom at its most luminous, and its most solitary. A dream of self-rule so absolute that it risks dissolving the bonds that make society possible. In him, autonomy reaches its summit and its breaking point. Beneath every equation and every policy sits one stubborn question. What kind of being is man? The economists of the 20th century may speak in data and models, but what they really build are philosophies of human nature. Milton Friedman places his trust in reason. Left free, he believes, people will choose well enough to sustain order. Discipline and rules are enough. Humanity on average can be trusted. Minsky trusts far less. He sees how quickly memory fades. Calm invites risk. Success breeds forgetfulness. For him, Every period of stability already contains the seed of collapse. Progress does not calm human nature, it tempts it. Murray Rothbard trusts only conscience. Strip away coercion, he argues, and moral order can still emerge. Individuals, unforced, can choose dignity without masters. Freedom becomes not a tool, but a test of character. Their disagreements form a moral map of modernity. Friedman's disciplined citizen, Minsky's anxious borrower, Rothbard's solitary moral agent. Each reduces the system to a simple equation. Society equals human nature multiplied by circumstance. The formulas grow more refined, but the problem remains. Can a science of numbers ever explain creatures shaped by fear, memory, and desire? Economics slowly becomes something else. Not prediction, but interpretation. Not physics, but anthropology in disguise. Its real subject is not markets, but the human struggle to create order in a world that refuses to stay still. Every boom, every crash, every reform reflects the same truth. The economy behaves as we do, clever, hopeful, and never fully certain of itself. From labor to utility, from equilibrium to crisis, from planning to liberty, the journey of economics traces humanity's long attempt to give its own power a conscience. What begins as a study of wealth slowly turns into a moral map of the modern mind, a record of how reason wrestles with impulse, how design collides with chance. Every theory, from Marx's demand for justice to Rothbard's hymn to autonomy, belongs to the same story: the struggle to govern freedom without destroying it. Certainty, once the scholar's dream, quietly dissolves. The equations remain, but their symbols speak in paradox. Systems endure not because they are flawless, but because they are not. Order survives only in tension with disorder. Progress no longer means defeating chaos. It means learning how to live with it. Seen this way, economics becomes something unexpected. Not a cold science, but a human art wearing scientific clothes. It measures not just prices or output, but contradictions, hopes and fears, discipline and desire. Its deepest subject is neither capital nor consumption. It is the restless spirit that creates both. And that is the final insight of this long journey. Civilization does not move toward perfect balance. It moves through instability. The drama of economics is, in the end, the drama of freedom itself, fragile, unavoidable, and endlessly renewed. Here is the thought that closes this scene. Freedom is not a solution to be reached. It is a tension to be carried. 2 centuries of economic thought leave us without final answers, but not without insight. Every system that promises certainty eventually confronts human unpredictability. Every attempt to secure freedom risks reshaping it. Economics, at its deepest level, is not about markets at all. It is about how much uncertainty a society is willing to live with, and how much control it dares to impose. And one last provocation. If freedom cannot be perfected or escaped, why do we keep designing systems that pretend it can? Join me in the next scene, where the story turns toward the future, to a world of algorithms, data, and artificial intelligence, and to a new question. What happens to freedom when decisions no longer feel human at all?